With the Amazon business model, beginners seem to have the most difficulty with product research and finding viable product ideas. In this video, I have Greg Mercer, the founder and CEO of Jungle Scout, which is a suite of product research tools, to talk about how to do product research and discover product ideas for private labeling on Amazon. But first, my name is Crescent. Now, if this is our first time meeting, welcome to my channel. My passion is sharing tips and strategies on how you can create a successful Amazon FBA private label business. So if you enjoy videos like this, or especially if you've been around my channel, consider subscribing. All right, let's get started. Welcome, Greg. I'm excited to have you on my channel.
Crescent, I'm really stoked to be here. Thank you for having me on. I know we have some excellent content to speak about, and it's awesome to be speaking to you.
Before we begin though, Greg, I want to take a second and thank you and your team. Jungle Scout is the foundation of how I started on Amazon, and I couldn't have built a successful business without it.
Amazing. I love that. That's you're an awesome success story, Crescent.
Well, thank you. So, Greg, my community is focused on beginners and how they can build a successful Amazon business, and I wanted to bring you on my channel today so that you can show them how to use Jungle Scout to do product research. And we all know that product research is the most important yet most difficult part of the entire business model. But you have a set of tools that specifically help sellers with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And probably like before I start showing you exactly how I do it, maybe we just think about like a little bit high level real quick, So, when I was getting into Amazon, like Jungle Scout didn't exist yet. And, I was an Amazon seller myself. And what I found was like I was launching multiple products on Amazon. Some would do really well and some wouldn't. And it ultimately came down to how much demand there were for these products and how much competition there were kind of like around these projects. And nowadays it's kind of hard to imagine like not knowing how well products on Amazon sell, because Jungle Scout's been around for years now. There's like other competitors. So it's kind of just like well known in the space that, you can see how well these different products are selling on Amazon. Which is fantastic. It makes it way easier for people to get started, and it really removes a lot of the risk associated with starting a business, because there's nothing worse than like launching multiple products on Amazon. None of them do well, then you're just discouraged, right? So That's what we're looking at, kind of like big picture. We're trying to find these little nuggets on Amazon that are in high demand with low competition. That's essentially what it comes down to, like from a high level view. So always keep that in mind, like when we're doing this. And, I'm going to give you some more like the detailed numbers of like my exact formula, how I choose these different products. But just from like a high level overview, that's what we're going to be looking for when we're looking for products on Amazon. All right. So what you're looking at now, if you're not familiar with it, is the Jungle Scout web app. Okay. And this particular feature that we're looking at right now is called the product database. Now, the product database was one of the first tools that I came out with after the extension, because what I was trying to do is I was trying to figure out like, okay, show me all of the products on Amazon that are selling well, even though they're either relatively new, or they're selling well, even though they get poor reviews, or they're selling well, even though the listing quality is of poor quality, okay? And that's essentially what you're allowed to do here. We've rebuilt Amazon's catalog in a way that's user-friendly for sellers to search through. Because, if you go to Amazon.com, there's no search for like, hey, show me all the products that sell very well, even though there's not a lot of competition. So to search through this, I'm going to give you like a few of the little tips, and then you can adjust these accordingly to find products that like work well for you, okay? But to start, you can drill down into different categories, or you can filter by different categories. Me personally, when I'm looking to launch a new product or a new brand or new private label product, I try to choose something that's relatively simple and that people don't typically have like a strong like brand allegiance to. And what I mean by that is items like a watch or a shirt or a pair of sneakers. These are all items that people typically care a little bit more about the brand, and they're not as willing to buy from a brand that they've never heard of before, okay? So I'm just gonna choose a few categories real quick right here for our demo. This doesn't necessarily mean that these are the only categories that I'd be willing to sell in, but I'm just choosing a few that I know have like a number of just kind of simple products that are more kind of like commodity type products that people are willing to just buy this stuff even if they're not familiar with the particular brand. So just select a few here. That looks good. All right. Now I go over here into my numerical filters, and I'm filtering by things like price and amount of monthly sales and how many reviews they have, okay? I don't like to sell real inexpensive items. So I'm going to do a minimum price of $15. You could also do maybe like $18 or up. I want to find something that's already selling well on Amazon. And this is one of the most important things, okay? Oftentimes where I see beginners fail is what happens is they hear from like their friends and their family, or they have this gut feeling that something might sell well on Amazon, even though it doesn't have proven demand. And that's a very kind of like dangerous thing to do. So I'm going to say only show me products that are selling at least 300 units per month or more, and have a maximum number of reviews of, I'm going to type in here 50, okay? Now you might be thinking like, okay, why is the number of reviews important to you? And it's important to me because it's a great gauge of the level of competition. And let me explain a little bit more. If this product's selling well, like 300 units per month or more, and it doesn't have very many reviews, that means that there's typically lower competition here, okay? Now, the number of reviews is by no means like the end-all be-all gauge of competition, but it's a great indicator because A, it lets you know how long this product's essentially been around on Amazon, or how long it's been selling well on Amazon. And we know that sales velocity is something that Amazon takes into account when they're ranking products, okay? So something that only has like 10 reviews, it hasn't been selling that well on Amazon for very long, otherwise it would have more reviews. So that's like a good gauge of it. And the other thing is, it's also just like a level of social proof, okay? So customers are more likely to purchase on listings that have a higher number of reviews because it has higher social proof. So by having a lower number of reviews, that means it's a little bit easier for you to compete against these people, okay? We'll start with just this search as an example, and then I'll give you an example of 2 other types of searches that I make that I kind of use to modify that, all right? So now what we're looking at here is, this is a list of all the products on Amazon that meet my particular criteria. And the reason that this is important, or the reason that this is good to do, is you'll find a lot of very like niche or obscure type products. And these are typically the style or type of products that work really well to being successful on Amazon today. If you're selling like the coolest, hottest, sexiest item, then it typically has a lot of competition. But some of this other stuff, like a mortar and pestle for grinding herbs, or kind of a strange looking serving set, or a, what else do we have here? Celtic green Advent wreath. There's all kinds of just like obscure type products here that I normally wouldn't think about myself without like doing this type of search, okay? So this is how I go about finding product ideas, or at least like starting with my product ideas, okay? Let me show you these other 2 types of searches that I make to get more product ideas, and then I'll show you how to validate these ideas once you've come up with them, okay? So something you can do to kind of add on to this is you can add in a max rating, okay? So this is like the average star rating like that these listings have, okay? So let me do like a max rating of 3.5 stars. And let me actually put a minimum number of reviews as like 5, so I know that at least has a few reviews. Now what this is gonna be showing me here is, these are all the products on Amazon that are selling well, even though they have poor reviews, okay? Now, the reason why I really like doing this is because these are all great ideas for you to improve upon these products, right? For example, like this, let's see, what is some of this stuff? No wax filters, I'm not even quite sure what that is. Egyptian hookah hose. The reason this is important is because these are all the items that are selling really well, even though they're rated poorly, okay? And we know that customers on Amazon are unlikely to buy products that get poor reviews and ratings on Amazon. So the fact that like this tablecloth is selling 6,600 per month, even though it has an average of 2.9 stars, is a good indicator that people really want this product and they're willing to buy it even though it gets bad reviews, okay? So let me show you how I go about, kind of like taking this to the next level. So this thing right here, contoured side release plastic buckle, it's selling 418 per month, even though it has 3.4 star reviews. So what I do when I find products like this is I go on Amazon, I read the bad reviews to see what's wrong with the product, and then I try to improve upon this when I sell the product myself. So this one only has 8 reviews. You can collect more information if they have more reviews, of course, but you can find out what's wrong with this product and see if it makes sense for you to improve upon it, okay? So for example, right here it says, See, like this is a really easy thing to improve upon. Like I received 200 female ends instead of 100 male and 100 female. So this is oftentimes what happens is like these items will just be like mislabeled or mispackaged or just have poor quality packaging that arrives broken. And these are actually like all really easy things to fix. You know, like you don't have to be like an inventor to just package it a little better so it doesn't break or to just describe it accurately. Okay. So that's the second way that I like to use this. And that works really well for finding product ideas. Let me show you one other way real quickly, and then I'll show you how I validate these ideas. So down here where it says LQS, this is the listing quality score, okay? And what we've done is we've graded all of the listings 1 through 10, okay? And from that, you can get a good gauge, or like from that, it's the gauge of like how likely it is that this listing is gonna convert. So let's do like a max LQS of 5. So let's do like 1 to 5. So this is going to show us all of the listings that are of like relatively poor quality on Amazon. So again, you know, these items are selling well, right? They're selling at least 300 units per month, even though it has a crappy listing. So let's just, you know, look at this first one as an example. The LQS is 2, which is pretty bad. And it looks like this actually just sold out. And to be honest, you know, since we're around kind of like Eastern time, this is probably like a little bit of a seasonal item, but the example works well for us nonetheless, because as you can see, like this item was selling, what did I say, 400 or wow, 2,200 units per month, even though this is a really crappy listing. The title's bad, so it probably doesn't rank for very many keywords. It has one bullet point, which I don't even know what this means, resin 12 3/4 diameter. It only has 2 photos. And probably if I scroll down here, yeah, I mean, it doesn't, this is the description, resin 12 3/4 diameter, right? So what's crazy about this is, you know, we have to take this particular example with a little bit of grain of salt because this is a seasonal item. But this thing was selling 2,200 units in the past 30 days, even though it has this really, really bad listing, right? So this is why it's, you know, like really beneficial to be able to search through this product database, find these different types of items that are like pretty obscure or niche or a little bit strange. And you can find these and make improvements on the listings. And as a result, it'd be like so easy to sell a lot better than this guy right here, because this is a very poor quality listing. Any questions for that, Crescent?
One thing I wanted to bring up though while you're on this page is a lot of beginners get discouraged. Like they're super excited in the beginning because they want to start selling a product, but then as they start doing product research, they learn really quick that product research isn't easy and it takes a lot of time, patience, and diligence. Now, the power of the web app, I understand the power, how powerful it is and how it can help you with finding new product ideas. But it can be pretty daunting when you see, like in your example, there was 14,000 results there. What's your thoughts on how to narrow that down or how to move through that quantity of products to do your product research faster or more efficiently?
Great question. What I like to do is I like to just continue to tweak my filters here, okay? And what I'm trying to do, like when I describe this to you guys is, you know, I'm giving you some of the exact numbers that I like to use here to like help you guys kind of get started. But ideally what happens is you kind of understand the big picture of what we're doing here. Like you understand why it's important to search for poor quality listings, or you understand why it's good to search for a lower number of reviews, because then you can use that to kind of tweak it, you know? So if there's still 1,400 results here, you know, 14,500 results, which is still overwhelming. What I could do is say like, okay, well, actually only show me the ones that sell 500 per month or more. And actually instead of 50 reviews, I want something that's even less competitive. So I'm going to take that down to 20 reviews. Okay. And now when you make those searches, now you can start to narrow this down smaller and smaller. Or you might decide like, hey, I do really like these few particular categories, so I want to sell in those. So now we're down to 4,000. That's still quite a few, right? But we're getting to be a more manageable number. So you can kind of like keep taking that further down. And yeah, from that, you know, have a more manageable number of results.
That's awesome, Greg. That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah. So once I've found some of these obscure product ideas, and this is my favorite way to go about it, the next thing I can do is I can validate or verify these product ideas, okay? So my favorite way, there's a number of different ways to do this. You know, one, you can add these products into the product tracker, monitor them on a day-to-day basis. You can check some of the keywords inside Keyword Scout or the Niche Hunter. But my favorite way actually to go to the next step is actually just to search for this product on Amazon and see what the just modern day competitive landscape looks like. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but I always kind of go back to this because I just kind of like to see like what the customers see when they search for that. So let's go ahead and just choose an idea here. I've seen these reusable plastic tablecloths before, and I've used them in prior examples. So let's try to find something new I've never tried before. What's this thing? A leather hole puncher. Sure. We'll use this as an example, okay? And Crescent, to your point about new sellers oftentimes getting discouraged, something I want you to keep in mind is the product research is usually kind of like one of the more time-consuming and sometimes one of the more intimidating areas for especially beginners. So just know and understand that it takes a little bit of time. You got to kind of do a little bit of work up here up front. And I usually see that for most people, it gets easier after that. This is like one of the more kind of like intimidating parts or one of the more time consuming parts. So just like hang in there, know it's going to get a little bit easier, stick with it. Everyone that I talk to that are kind of successful entrepreneurs, they say all the same thing there. You just kind of got to stick with it for this first one. And it's much easier, especially when you're launching second, third, fourth product, etc. So I'm going to do, so this looks like a leather hole puncher. I guess you use this for making belts or other items. Okay. So I've never used one of these myself, but it looks like we're kind of on the right page here. And something I want to try to explain to you here is, we found one product here, right, that only has 6 reviews, 4.5 stars. It's selling well, 635. But what I'm trying to do here is I want to put myself in the shoes of the buyer, see what they see when they make the search. And I want to find out whether this is a good like niche and opportunity as a whole for me, or if this one product right here is an outlier, because that could always be the case. This brand Sync, I don't think this is the case, but maybe they drive traffic from their own website or something else. So I'm trying to use this to get a product idea, because I would never think of commercial leather hole puncher. I've never even used one of these things. I'm using this to get a product idea, and then I want to go validate it and see what the customer sees. So I made the search for leather hole puncher. If you have the Jungle Scout Chrome extension and choose to buy it, then you'd see a little JS in your Chrome browser here. And when you click it, this is what I'm seeing, okay? So within a few seconds, it downloads all the results from this page, okay? And it adds in some very valuable pieces of information for us, like the number of sales in the past 30 days, how many sales it's had the past 24 hours, how many reviews it has, what the Amazon fees are for this product, what you net after Amazon fees, and then other things like the listing quality score as well. So, now when I'm looking at this, if I put myself in the shoes of a beginner, you're probably a little bit overwhelmed. There's like lots of numbers here. It's like, right? It's like, what do all these numbers mean? Which ones matter to me? So let me make it a little bit easier for you, okay? The main things that I'm looking at here is how many sales does this particular niche have? And it's actually a lot, way more than what I thought. What I like to see is I like to find like a niche or an opportunity where there's at least a few thousand sales per month. And that means like total. So if I were to add up kind of all these sales, okay? And why that's important to me is, I want to find an opportunity on Amazon that people are already buying. It's a pretty risky thing to try to sell like a brand new type of product that no one's already buying on Amazon, because Amazon's very search intent based. So if they're not searching for your product and there's not already sales there, it's unlikely that you'll be able to do well with it. So right away, looking at this, I see there's a lot of sales for these things. There's it looks like at least 10,000 per month or more of the leather hole punchers being sold on Amazon, which is crazy that Amazon's that powerful that I've never even seen one of these tools before. Wouldn't even have thought that very many people use leather hole punches, but there's over 10,000 being sold every month on Amazon. That just goes to show how powerful this channel is, it always just blows my mind. So that's one thing I'm looking for. So there's plenty of sales, but now I'm looking at okay, would I be able to rank for this product if I launched it? And would I be able to compete well with the other sellers selling the similar thing? Okay. So these top 2 results are sponsored products. And that's why this little SP is there. So we can kind of ignore those for a second. And let me just look at the next, let's say top 10 results. Now there's quite a few reviews here, right? So again, what that tells me is most of these listings have been on Amazon for a while. they've made a lot of sales, and now they have a lot of social proof. And as a result, it would be pretty hard for you to launch a brand new listing in here and probably rank in these top like 10 spots or so. Okay. Which means, so for this one, there'd be a little bit too much competition for me. And to make it easier, we put the little opportunity score up here in the top right. And those are some of the factors that the opportunity score takes into account. Okay. So it agrees with my, my insights that there's lots of demand here, right? But there's also quite a bit of competition. I'm seeing quite a bit of reviews here. It's taking into account other things like how quality these listings are. So even though there's lots of demand here, for me, there'd be too much competition. And this is essentially how I go about my product research. I'm finding product ideas inside of the web app. I'm checking them in real time on Amazon. And, if we were to do this for an hour or a couple hours, going through that process, I'd be able to find a few opportunities that would be good ones that I'd be willing to sell into. So that's kind of like the basics of my product research. I start to do some other things like save these product ideas inside of my product tracker. From there, it's easier for me to compare different opportunities. Sometimes I go and do some keyword research for those as well. But this is really the kind of like the foundation of my product research of what I've just shown you.
Right. So thanks, Greg, for showing us how to use the web app and the Chrome extension on how you do product research with your tools. And the steps that you've shown are pretty much the same steps that most successful Amazon sellers are using as well. And it's the same process that I'm teaching through my videos and in my community. One question that pops up quite often is a lot of beginners don't know where to start with their product research or even with their Amazon business, and they're not even aware that there's tools out there to help them. And sometimes they're even confused on if they should even buy or purchase a product research tool. So what advice do you have for people in that scenario?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I never, ever since we've started Jungle Scout, it's always been very educational based, and we want to educate people how to be successful sellers. And never like try to like push any of our products on people that say like wouldn't need it. Okay. So, we even have like a free tool. If you go to junglescout.com/estimator that you can plug in a bestseller rank and see how well it's selling. Cause we want to equip all you guys with the tools and resources you need to be successful Amazon sellers. With that being said, what we find with most people is they'll use something like the free tool to play around with a little bit, or like when they're doing some of the educational process. But when you talk to people that have kind of like been on Amazon for a little while or like selling on Amazon for a little while, and I encourage you guys to do so. Like you could do that just in the comments of this video right here. You could ask some people for their advice and get some honest feedback. What you'll find is like most people think that it's a little bit almost kind of like reckless or crazy to try to figure out like a product to launch on Amazon without using some of the tools. Because like big picture, if we think about it, if you choose to start like a private label product and a private label brand, this is a real business, and it takes a real investment to get started. You're probably talking, at least $1,000, maybe a few $1,000s to like really, get like a larger order that you can give a good chance for it to be successful on Amazon. So, to like kind of cheap out and not spend say like $40 for a month of Jungle Scout or like on the extension, it's like a little bit probably your what's the saying, like penny wise and whatever, dollar foolish, whatever it is, like this is like a really valuable information for you to kind of really understand what's selling well on Amazon and help you find like a product that you probably wouldn't be able to otherwise. So that's why, Jungle Scout has gotten so popular over the years, because people really understand kind of like the value from that and like how important it is to them for finding like the right products to sell on Amazon.
Awesome. So basically my advice is the same. If you don't have a tool of some kind to help you do your product research, you're kind of flying blind because you don't have that data in front of you. And you can go ahead and try to collect the data on your own, but that just adds so much more time and labor on your end to analyze each product idea that it would just take eons for you to find the viable product to move forward with. Would you agree?
I totally agree, Crescent. And especially with a lot of kind of like newer entrepreneurs or people just getting into this, what we see is that it's easy for them to get discouraged in, especially in the earlier days before they kind of are like getting some wins, right? So,
Right.
the people who choose to like try to do it all manually, it's just more time consuming. It's easier to get discouraged. And as a result, there's kind of just like a much higher chance like you don't follow through and like kind of like get it launched, like especially when you're just getting started. Entrepreneurship, I think, is just as much as like a mental game as it is like understanding like the knowledge like this. So you want to try to like set yourself up for success to get some of those early wins, because then you get excited and then you want to work on it more. And as a result, just the whole business becomes a little bit easier for you.
That's excellent advice, Greg. Thank you so much for taking the time to show us how powerful Jungle Scout is in helping to make the product research phase a lot faster and easier. I look forward to having you back on my channel again in the future. Now, if anybody has any questions, post them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to answer them. I'll also leave links in the video description on how you can get the Jungle Scout web app and Chrome extension, along with a coupon for you as well. And make sure to hop over to Jungle Scout's channel too. They have tons of valuable content there. All right, thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And to make sure you never miss a video, click the bell icon to turn on notifications. There's also a link in the video description to our community forums, which you should totally join. And if you're looking for more tips and strategy videos, click or tap over here. And as always, thanks for watching.